the top question I get asked by the students I work with is, how do I get better at video production? And the answer to that is generally remarkably very simple. It's just, if you want to get better at making movies, you have to make more movies. So, at the risk of dating this a little bit, let's say you're a college student who has been sent home because of a pandemic, and you no longer have access to the resources to which you've become accustomed. Your instructors are frantically trying to reformat classes that should never be taught online, you can't get the fancy cameras anymore, and you're just sort of not sure in general about what's going on. How then do you get better at video production? The answer is still remarkably simple in that you have to keep making videos. Make more videos than you normally would. I mean, if you don't have a camera, use a phone. Just keep going, okay? I mean, shoot a documentary, make a short film, start a fucking vlog, just do something. Practice. Keep working. As simple as that solution sounds, the goal here is to make something that people, actually want to watch. So that does breed the question, how do you do that? What actually goes into a good video? I am Dr. Awesome, and that's what we're going to talk about. I don't do well in silence. Silence leads to introspection, and for me, introspection tends to lead to self-loathing. When allowed to sit in silence, the normally tiny and quiet voices in my head grow louder and louder until they become almost deafening. In these moments, I find myself fixating on my own shortcomings to the point that it can become almost immobilizing. So, to fight that, I actively and aggressively avoid silence. While music is definitely an option, I often turn to movies and TV to fill the void. Something about the act of dialogue is comforting. Recently, my go-to has been a show called The Neistat Brothers. The Neistat Brothers is a show that was on HBO in the early 2000s, and the premise is pretty simple. It's just two brothers, Van and Casey Neistat, living their lives and telling their stories. The whole show was shot with home video cameras and not fancy big-time production gear. They just went about being crazy and creative. It was basically vlogging before vlogging was a thing. So what does this weird expository spiel have to do with creating good videos? Well, my rampant, maybe even rabid, consumption of media over the years has taught me a few lessons about production, and the biggest one of those lessons really is exemplified by this show that I've just been talking about. Video projects really only have three components. They're made up of gear, you have to shoot and edit with something, story, if there's no story then why do it, and time, which is, well, time. Gear is the least important, only accounting for about 10% of the equation. If you have a cell phone, you have all the gear you really need. Time is a little more important, accounting for about 15% of the total. After all, making things does just take a little time. Story, though. Story is by far the most important. It accounts for the other 75% of the total. You should always do the best you can, but audiences will absolutely forgive lower production quality if they are actively engaged in the narrative. Everything serves the story. Story is king. Story is also a multifaceted thing. Every story has a beginning, which is where characters' ideas and concepts are introduced, a middle, where the given characters work to achieve their goals, and an end, where those goals are either achieved or not, but either way, the conflict is resolved. Now, it's important to remember that the beginning and the end are really just bookends. Yes, an introduction and conclusion are important, but the start and the finish aren't why we get involved in the stories. We get involved in stories for the progression, the struggle. Just remember, it's not about the A or the Z. It's about the B through the Y. So you want to make better movies? Awesome. Make more movies, okay? If you have a nice camera, use a nice camera. If you have a phone, use a phone. Just make something. Make lots of somethings. Just make sure you know what the story is, because if you don't, and this is the big lesson here, if you don't know what the story is, it won't matter what it was shot on or how or anything like that, because if you don't know, the audience won't know. All right, keep shooting, friends.